In 2024, at a school, an unexpected confrontation breaks out. Victor forcefully slams Nikolai against a wall. His goal is to make Nikolai erase a message written on the classroom blackboard. Earlier that week, Nikolai had been seeing a girl named Anastasia. However, she ended up betraying him by secretly getting involved with Victor. In response, Nikolai decided to reveal the truth by writing it on the board for everyone to see. Refusing to take it down, he stands his ground. Victor reacts violently, striking him and dragging him down the hallway in front of other students. At the same time, far across the surface of the moon, an alien courier spacecraft appears unexpectedly. The pilot, having entered the solar system by accident, is immediately dismissed from his position. While flipping through radio frequencies on his control panel, he unintentionally intercepts a transmission coming from Earth. The signal originates from Fima, Nikolai's best friend, who happens to be playing video games in his room. The pilot responds to the signal and begins communicating. Within moments, Fima gains worldwide attention as the first human ever to make contact with extraterrestrial life. This single interaction leads to Earth being accepted into the Star Federation. A new era begins as humanity experiences a rapid technological revolution. Scientific progress allows for breakthroughs such as lab-grown organs. The planet quickly becomes a popular destination for intelligent life forms from across the galaxy. But this period of peace doesn't last long. By the year 2110, tensions erupt when an individual is shot at the border of the Star Federation. Conflict arises as the Pirate Alliance emerges as a major threat. Their leader, Glot, possesses powerful psychokinetic abilities and has mastered the ability to manipulate time. Every time the pirates lost a battle, Glot would travel back in time and give his army details about the enemy's tactics so they could win instead. To stop this, Earth decided to send a special team straight into the heart of the pirate base. Kira joined the mission and ended up facing Glot in a one-on-one fight. She managed to defeat him, but she also lost her life in the process. Kira had a daughter named Alice, who 100 years later went to the same school as Nikolai. After school, Alice would head into the forest with her father's robot, Verter, to practice combat using a training simulation. She wore a pair of special gloves that let her block attacks and interact with the simulated enemies. She was clearly skilled and held her ground for a while during the training, but eventually, the simulation overwhelmed her and she lost. Not giving up, Alice asked Verter to restart the simulation. She was so focused on fighting better that she didn't notice her father, Igor, walking up behind her. She accidentally punched him in the nose. Later at home, Alice treated his injury while he scolded her for not paying attention in class. He also asked about the gloves, and Alice explained they came from the cadet school, which was considering letting her join. Igor didn't like the idea at all, but Alice insisted she wanted to enroll because she hoped to find her mother. Kira's body was never found, and since the pirates could mess with time, Alice believed her mother might have been sent to the past. Igor pointed out that if Kira had gone back in time, she would have sent a sign. Alice took him to a tree with a heart carved into the trunk. Some time ago, she had Verter scan it, and the analysis showed the carving was over 100 years old. Alice believed it was a message left by her mom. Igor thought she was reading too much into it, and Alice, upset, ran to her room. Verter scanned her and noticed she was close to breaking down, but she ignored his warning and asked him to run the face-matching software again. Alice believed that by checking old pictures, she might find someone who looked like her mom. They had tried thousands of times before without success. That day, something caught her attention. A woman named Margarita, who used to teach back in 2024. Meanwhile in the present, Anastasia was still recording Victor beating up Nikolai. The fight moved into the classroom where the physics teacher Margarita stepped in and stopped it. Later that day, Nikolai's mom was called to the school. She took away his electronics and made him clean the board. Fima stayed with him while he tried to wipe it off, but Nikolai had used paint, so a simple cloth didn't work. He broke into a locked lab to find something stronger. Inside, he noticed objects falling as if pulled by a magnet. Water in a container trembled near a painting on the wall. He moved the picture and found a hidden compartment. Inside was a very heavy box. Just holding it made his nose bleed. A drop of blood fell on the box, and it began to glow. When Nikolai opened it, he found a small glowing energy ball. It jumped into his hand and entered his body, making him dizzy and shake as if having a seizure. Fima ran to get help, and Nikolai suddenly heard a voice saying, "Cosmin is back in the system." He ran through the halls, hearing strange voices saying things like "you will die quickly" and mentioning his name and Alice's. Everything around him started warping, and suddenly he was teleported outside. Still disoriented, he tried asking someone for help, but was terrified by the strange helmet they were wearing. He bumped into Alice, who thought she was being attacked and knocked him to the ground. The pain helped Nikolai regain focus. Alice helped him up and apologized. He asked for an ambulance and explained he had no phone, which made Alice suspicious. She looked closely at his clothes and student ID and realized he came from the past. She told him to look around. Nikolai finally noticed all the futuristic technology around them. She told him the current year was 2124. Nikolai fainted from shock. Meanwhile, in Titanium Isolation Prison, a pirate named Jolly fought his way past the guards until he reached the cell where Glot was being held. Jolly explained he had been chosen as the new leader of what remained of the Pirate Alliance, but couldn't take full command while Glot was still alive. When he aimed his gun, Glot turned around and told him that Cosmian was returning, and that it could help them win the war. They decided to work together. They made a pact by shaking hands with a coin pressed between their palms, which left a mark on their skin. Jolly fired his gun, but it didn't hurt Glot. The pact worked. He opened the cell and freed Glot from his restraints. When 2 guards arrived, Glot used his powers to control one of them, forced him to shoot his partner, and then made him end his own life. Back in Alice's house, Nikolai woke up and panicked when he saw Werder scanning him. Alice dismissed the robot and gave Nikolai a tour of the house. She explained many of the advancements, like flying cars and how climate change had been solved. When Igor came home and met Nikolai, he brought him into the lab to run some tests. They found a piece of exotic matter inside him, which might be Cosmian. Igor became alarmed and asked where he found it, saying that it was supposed to belong to Kira. When Nikolai mentioned the teacher's lab, Alice made the connection to Margarita and demanded answers. Igor gave Alice a letter that Kira had left for the family. In the letter, Kira explained that Cosmian was the power Glot used to time travel, and that she had stolen it during their final battle. Kira traveled back to the year 2014 to hide the Cosmian. To stay hidden, she changed her name and lived under the identity of Margarita. She often missed her family and wished she could return, but protecting Cosmian and saving the world was her responsibility. She hoped that one day, her husband and daughter would understand her decision and forgive her. When Alice found out the truth, she was angry that her father had kept it secret her whole life. She ran away, and Igor tried to go after her, but Nikolai told him to let him handle it. After they left, Igor received a paper letter, something very rare in the future. The note told him to open it exactly at 10 p.m., so he followed the instructions. Meanwhile, Nikolai searched for Alice with help from Werder. The robot explained that Nikolai must never meet his future self, because that could cause serious problems in time. Werder moved ahead, but Nikolai was suddenly blocked by Jolly and Glot. Glot forced Nikolai down to his knees. Jolly tried to shoot Werder, but the robot dodged and flew into the air to activate the invasion alarm. All the lights turned red. A glowing circle appeared in the sky. Jolly prepared to kill Nikolai to extract Cosmian, but Alice showed up and attacked him. Jolly knocked her away, and they began to fight. Thanks to her gauntlets, Alice was able to block his attacks. Jolly's blade got stuck in a tree, and Alice quickly grabbed his gun. Glot released Nikolai and used his power to control Alice instead. Jolly kicked Alice, took back the gun, and punched her. Igor arrived just then and said that help was coming. Nikolai picked up the gun, but Glot took control of him and forced him to shoot Igor. Alice ran toward her father in panic. At that moment, Cosmian activated inside Nikolai, surrounding the group in energy and sending them to the past. A car almost hit Jolly, but he destroyed it with his blade. Another car was heading toward Glot, who controlled the driver and made the car crash. Jolly threw his blade at Nikolai, pinning his jacket to a car. Alice freed him, and the two escaped. The car owner tried to confront Jolly, but was kicked away and crushed by a door. Jolly began jumping from car to car, chasing the teens. He caught up with them and stabbed Alice, but it turned out to be a hologram created by Werder. Jolly angrily sliced the robot in half. He turned back to Glot, who was staring at the circle in the sky. Annoyed by Jolly's chatter, Glot used his power to control a man on a bike, making him ride straight into Jolly. The pirate only laughed, noticing that Nikolai had dropped his jacket with his student ID. Later, Nikolai took Alice to Fima's apartment. Fima's parents were away, but even after Alice showed her gauntlets, he still didn't let them stay. He had to prepare for a video game tournament the next day. So Nikolai brought Alice to his own house. He told his mother that Alice was a new girl who got lost in town. In his room, he showed her a rap song he had written. He tried to kiss her, but she said no. Meanwhile, Jolly was stopping cars on the street, asking for directions to Nikolai's school. A taxi driver misunderstood and offered him a ride. Jolly threatened him with a blade, and the driver ran away. Jolly got in the car, touched random buttons, and accidentally reversed into a crash. Then he took the phone and started following the GPS on foot. The whole scene was caught on camera by bystanders and soon appeared on the news. Kira saw it on TV and began preparing her old gear. The next morning, Nikolai brought Alice to school. Victor and Anastasia stopped them. Anastasia was upset when she saw her ex-boyfriend with someone new. While Anastasia yelled at Alice, Nikolai spotted Kira and ran after her to tell her about Cosmian and Alice. Jolly suddenly appeared, throwing the school receptionist onto a desk and smashing the entrance gate. Anastasia noticed the glowing gauntlet on Alice's arm and pulled Victor into hiding. Jolly recognized Kira. The receptionist set off the fire alarm, and students started to flee. Kira then fought Jolly using gauntlets, proving that she really was as powerful as the stories said. Jolly was a tough fighter. Alice rushed in to help her mom. They shared a quick, emotional glance before teaming up. Even together, Jolly was still overpowering. He threw Kira through a door and smashed Alice's head into a window. Kira grabbed the broken door and attacked Jolly, holding him off while Alice led the other students to safety. The group hid inside Kira's classroom and blocked the door with desks. Jolly broke the window but couldn't fit through, so he started cutting a hole in the wall with his blade. Kira fought him again, trying to convince him that Glot was only using him to get Cosmian and would betray him afterward. Nikolai tried to activate Cosmian but couldn't concentrate. Alice kissed him to help him focus. Cosmian finally activated, surrounding them in glowing energy. Kira kicked Jolly through the wall, and the group disappeared, leaving him behind. They reappeared in the future, but instead of a peaceful world, they found a destroyed building. Looking outside, they realized the future had become a wasteland. Suddenly, a robot entered the room. Kira attacked it and broke its mask, revealing Verter underneath. He began guiding them through the ruins while explaining what had gone wrong. Glot had used his power to control Fima, forcing him to go to school instead of playing in the tournament. As a result, Fima never received the alien signal. Earth never joined the Star Federation. Instead, Glot used Fima's computer to contact the alien first, bringing the Pirate Alliance to Earth before anyone else. With that advantage, the pirates built a strong base and turned humans into their workers. Verter led the group to a hidden apartment, where they found Jolly. He was missing a hand, which had been replaced with a mechanical one. Jolly explained that he saved Verter and didn't want to fight, he only wanted to talk. To prove it, he offered them food. He then revealed that Glot betrayed him, exactly like Kira had warned. Now, Jolly wanted revenge. But because of the pact, he couldn't harm Glot directly. As soon as he brought up Cosmian, Kira attacked him. Jolly quickly said he didn't want Cosmian for himself, he only wanted his freedom. Kira agreed to let him help guide them to Glot in exchange for a future pardon. After that, Jolly laid out his plan. He believed the best way to stop Glot was in the past. They had 1 hour to reach the moment when Nikolai created the time rift. Nikolai suggested using his powers immediately, but Jolly explained that Glot could track Cosmian's gravitational signature. So they needed to wait for the right gap in time. Right then, a pirate surveillance robot appeared at the window. It was doing its monthly check on the apartment's owner. Jolly went to the fridge, pulled out a real human hand from his collection, removed his prosthetic, and attached the hand. He showed it to the robot, which scanned it, confirmed the identity, and left. While Jolly showed Kira his stash of weapons, Nikolai went up to the roof and sat with Alice. He asked her out on a date after the mission was over. Alice said yes, and they shared a kiss. But Kira interrupted the moment to discuss the plan further. The teens then told her about Igor's death and said they hoped to reverse it once Glot was defeated in the past. Jolly broke the news, it wouldn't work. Igor died after the timeline shifted, so there was no way to bring him back. Jolly left with Kira and Nikolai. Alice stayed at the apartment to protect Fima, Anastasia, and Victor. Fima started thinking more about Glot. If they were in the future and Glot hadn't reacted, that likely meant he already knew. It was a trap. They realized Glot was using Jolly to fight off other pirates who actually had the power to hurt him. Once Jolly was out of the way, Glot could swoop in and steal Cosmian. Alice started to worry about Nikolai. She wanted to go help him, but Fima and Anastasia said they shouldn't do anything reckless. Victor then gave a short speech about how they all deserved a better future. To prove he was serious, he grabbed a grenade before they left. It turned out the trap was real. Out on the street, Kira, Jolly, and Nikolai were surrounded by pirates. Kira and Jolly jumped into battle, but it was hard to fight and protect Nikolai at the same time. Nikolai hid inside a bus, but a pirate followed him in. He dodged as best he could, but was eventually caught. Just then, Alice crashed through a window and fought the pirate. The enemy overpowered her and tried to choke her. Nikolai grabbed a metal bar and knocked the pirate out. A new group of enemies shows up. Victor throws the grenade and wipes them all out. Unfortunately, the blast also causes a building to collapse. Nikolai races to save his friends, diving just in time to pull them out of danger. The 4 teens return to the past. Anastasia tries to kiss Nikolai to thank him, but he gently stops her. He tells Fima to return to his apartment and wait for the alien signal, then he jumps back to the future. Alice meets him and leads him to a safe place. Kira and Jolly continue fighting off pirates. It starts looking like they'll never get away. So Jolly pushes Kira into a building and stays behind to distract the enemies. He stabs several times but refuses to quit, fighting until every pirate is taken down. Verder walks up to say goodbye as Jolly collapses. Glot then appears, watching Jolly take his final breath. In that moment, the mark from the pact on Jolly's hand disappears in the past. The teens rush to the computer, but Glot is already there. He takes control of Fima, forcing him to punch Victor, then uses Victor to tackle Anastasia. Back in the future, Nikolai and his team arrive at the apartment. Nikolai activates Cosmian and opens the time rift, stopping Glot just before he can kill Fima. Kira tries to attack Glot, but Glot uses Anastasia as a shield. Kira is forced to strike the girl instead. Glot takes control of Alice and forces her to knock Nikolai down. This action closes the time rift, trapping Nikolai and Alice in the future, alone with the future version of Glot. Glot makes Alice grab Nikolai and begin choking him. At the same time in the past, Kira, still under Glot's control, attacks the teens. Eventually, Nikolai stops breathing. Glot pulls Cosmian out of his body. Alice tries to bring him back with CPR, but it doesn't work. She then uses a shock from her gauntlet, and it restarts Nikolai's heart. Back in the past, Glot prepares to force Kira to end her life. Before he can do it, Fima grabs a plastic Thor hammer and hits Glot in the head. The impact breaks Glot's control, and Kira regains her mind. She slashes Glot across the neck, and at that exact moment, the same scar appears on the future Glot. Nikolai sees the scar and believes they're finally winning. But Glot is still confident. He uses Cosmian to open a new time gap, intending to make the teens watch Kira's death. Before that can happen, Nikolai pushes future Glot into his past self. The contact causes Glot to lose control. Kira survives the attack with only a minor wound. Then, something even stranger happens. The two Glots start multiplying, creating several unstable copies. The time rift begins to break apart. Cosmian fires off beams of pure energy, destroying every clone of Glot in the room. For a moment, the group thinks it's finally over. But Cosmian suddenly releases a massive energy wave that spreads across the entire city, hurting everyone inside the apartment. Despite the danger, Kira pushes through the energy field, trying to reach Cosmian. But Nikolai gets there first. He absorbs it once again and resets the timeline. Before everything changes, Nikolai turns to Alice and apologizes for missing their date. Suddenly, he finds himself floating in space, hovering beneath the giant glowing ring. Then he falls quickly and lands back in his apartment in the present. He sees his friends one last time before passing out. Later, Nikolai wakes up in a hospital bed, surrounded by his mother and all his friends. Fima confirms that the alien signal went through, which means the timeline has been repaired. Nikolai quietly says that Cosmian is gone now, and because of that, he may never see Alice again. Meanwhile, in the future, Alice, Kira, and Verder reunite with Igor. The city has been fully restored. It turns out that the paper letter Igor once received was sent by Nikolai, warning him of everything. The Igor who died was just a hologram. The famous tree from earlier was planted by Nikolai and his friends. The heart carved into it was left behind by Nikolai as a message for Alice to find in the future. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon for more epic sci-fi breakdowns like this one.